help put the spot, you know, and it all gets back in that. You never know. So that's good. And Kobe is going crazy because he said since he was little.
Oh, really? He doesn't like sports.
He does okay, but he's he must have known that he was doing like that because he was one of those guys.
They go crawl into the dish.
Good evening. Hello, hello. All right. So it's the people in the front that ask all the questions too. So when you came in and you sat up front, you signed up for that. Just so you know.
Okay.
You're in the same place as last time. I'm keyed in right on you. All right. Well, welcome. We are very excited to do this part of the program tonight. We had this workshop earlier today and it was really well received. So I'm very excited. So I warmed up on them. Now I finalized, fine-tuned everything, so I'm ready to roll. For those of you I don't know, my name is Dr. Albanese, and my area of expertise is in health and wellness. And our mission is to help as many families as possible create healthy lifestyles and reach optimal health through chiropractic. And this is part of our mission. We do these talks outside the office, at companies, churches, and this is an extension of what we want to convey, a message about overall well-being and how you can impact your lives to really change the course of where you're going to overall just increase the quality of your life and the quantity of your life, not just the quantity of years, but the quality within those years. So tonight we're going to focus on one area of health. There are 5 essentials of health. One of them being exercise. We need daily exercise. We need to increase our heart rate, increase our cardiovascular fitness. That's through exercise. Conversely, we need time to rest and heal. Okay, that's when our body heals itself, rejuvenates, your cells and tissues rebuild. That's the time that your body has to shut down, slow down, and get ready for the next day. We also need healthy mindset. A healthy mindset can affect every part of your health. Every physiological function in your body can be affected by your mindset. Next month, we're going to do a workshop on thinking well, how to increase stress and create quality thoughts. So that's going to be next week or next month. I'm going to put a lot of stress on myself when I say next week. That's going to be next month. But that's a very integral part of health. Another part of health is your nervous system. Your brain has to be connected to your body, enabling every organ, muscle, and tissue to function well. You know, my body is no different. If somebody were to die and lay down right here, my body is no different than their body. The amount of fluid in my body is no different. The organs are no different. The muscles are no different. The one difference is there's an intelligence within my body that is manifesting through every part, every cell, every organ to create life. That's the difference. What I do as a chiropractor is I work with that intelligence by adjusting the spine and enabling your nervous system to express itself to its fullest potential. That's the mind-body connection. That's an essential for life and it's essential for health. The last essential is your nutrition. We need food. Not only do we need food to survive, we need quality nutrition to thrive. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So tonight we're going to accomplish a couple things. Number one, I'm going to give you a little background. We're going to create a little bit of a foundation. For those of you who have not been to one of our workshops before, I'm going to give you a real quick overview on just a couple of points, and that will help you understand why we're going in the direction that we're going in terms of our diet, okay? And for those of you who have been to our workshops in the past, it'll be a little bit of a refresher. So if you want to get an expanded explanation about the things that I'll be going over just in the beginning, you can go to our website and click on Building Blocks for a Healthy Diet, okay? And you can watch that program. So if you have questions or things like that, you can refer to that. So we're going to go through a little bit of a foundation, and then what we're going to do is we're going to explain to you how you can make a shopping list, okay? And I have 2 things in mind when we talk about nutrition. Well, with anything, we want to make it time effective and cost effective, okay? So we're going to create a shopping list, and we're going to do a virtual tour around the store. What do I look for here? How do I determine what products to buy? Where do I spend my money within this store? And then we're going to talk about your plate, bringing it home and creating a meal. How does that look? What do I do? Okay? And we're going to throw you off a little bit because first and foremost, I want you to get this thought in your mind. We're going to eat a lot of fat. Okay. Anybody have fat phobia? Get over it. We're going to eat a lot of fat. Your diet should consist of about 40% fat, 35% protein, and about 25% fiber-rich live food carbohydrates. Okay, that's what our diet should look like. So that's what we're going to talk about on our plate. When you leave here tonight, you will have a very clear understanding as to what you should eat, how you should eat, and not worry about anything that you put on your plate, because we're going to help you buy the best things. Okay? So I want to talk about a couple things here, because first of all, this should not be a difficult topic. There should not be confusion about what do I eat, how do I put together a meal. This is stuff that should just be innately happening within us. But we have been inundated with information about, well, you want to eat low fat, no fat, count the points. You know, you can trade off a piece of salmon and eat the brownie later. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's so confusing. You know, we have certain outcomes that you've probably heard me say this. You know, based on our beliefs and our understanding of information, we bring about certain action steps, right? Certain habits that we create, and that produces certain ultimate outcomes. Well, when we look at nutrition, the outcomes as a society haven't been very positive. You know, we went through no fat, low fat back in the 70s and 80s, and now we look at what used to be the food pyramid, and the biggest part of it are grains, right? And that's produced an outcome of increase in cancer, increase in heart disease, cardiovascular disease. We've had to come up with conditions to name what people are experiencing. We call it autoimmune disease. It never existed before. It's not that these are, you know, we misdiagnosis or we didn't. No, these didn't exist before. Diabetes, obesity, these things are on the rise, and they shouldn't be. We have more information at our fingertips. We have more health food stores than ever before, but it's confusing. What do we eat? How do I go about putting together a healthy diet? So we're going to create different action steps based on your understanding or beliefs of food. And that's going to produce an outcome that is very predictable. That's health. That's energy. That's vitality. That's what we're going to help bring about. Now, there's one little caveat. You have to take action. I can give you the information, but without action, you get back to right where you are. Okay? So I need you to do that. Okay? At least open your mind to new ideas, and then take them in, and then put them into action if they're congruent with what you're looking to achieve. Okay? So we're going to touch on a couple things, because about 60% of the American diet is made up of processed foods. Almost 25% of that comes from grains and sugars. So I just want to touch on this for a minute and reiterate this back for folks that were here last time. And for the people that are new, well, this is going to be something I want you to understand. Because we eat so many grains, I mean, you look at a box of grains, right? Why is that not healthy for us? Well, a grain is like a big ball. You have an outer layer, okay? That's the bran. That's primarily made up of fiber. A little bit of carbohydrates and protein, mainly fiber. Then you have this little ball in the middle here, okay? That's the germ. A lot of protein in there. Some fiber, some carbohydrates, nutrients, but mostly it's made up of protein. Then you have all the space that's not occupied by the bran, right, or by the germ, and that is the endosperm. That is basically carbohydrates, starch, that's sugar. Now, when we refine grains, this product is made up of refined grains, right? We take the bran away, we take the germ away, we're left with the sugar, the starch. That's why grains are not healthy, because most of that is going to be stored as fat. And it's an anti-nutrient. Grains are anti-nutrients. This means they block the nutrients of calcium, potassium, zinc, magnesium. Your body can't utilize these nutrients. That's why you see on the box fortified with. It has to be added because it's not in there, and your body can't use it when it is. And it also causes other health problems. Okay, intestinal permeability, which food, you know, that's what one of the proponents of food allergies, things like that. So go to our video on building blocks of a healthy diet, learn more about that. But here's what happens when we eat diets that are very high in grains and sugars. It does not affect a very important hormone called leptin. Leptin is a hormone. It's made of fat cells, right? but it travels around in the blood. It travels around in the blood to tell your brain, we're done. Don't eat anymore. When fat stores are high, leptin levels increase. When leptin levels increase, your brain says, oh man, you're always hanging around here. We must be done eating. We don't need to see anymore. So you stop. Cessation of appetite. When fat storage lowers, leptin levels decrease, the brain says, where are you? We haven't seen you in a while. That must mean we need to eat more. Our storage containers are getting empty. So we eat more. It stimulates hunger or cravings. That's how our body regulates itself. So we eat more, storage goes up, leptin goes up. That's how our body regulates itself. Now there are other components here, ghrelin and different things, but we're going to just focus on leptin because I want you to understand the concept, okay? That's how our body regulates whether we're hungry, whether we want to eat, whether we're full. That's why when you have a bowl of apples, you eat maybe one apple and you're done. Maybe two, we'll push it. But you can have a whole bag of potato chips or a whole box of cookies because those foods do not stimulate leptin. Your body doesn't, your brain doesn't know it's full. You keep eating and you don't stop. You can't overeat a salad. I was talking to somebody today and they were saying, well, you know, my husband was saying, that's a lot of salad in that bowl. Well, go for it. You're not going to gain weight on a salad, right? Because it's also regulated by leptin. And your brain's going to say stop, and you will, right? So this is a very important concept to understand because when leptin levels are in balance, your body's going to maintain a healthy weight. But that's why people oftentimes go up and down with their weight or can't lose weight because they're not eating the right food. Then they go for like the low fat or no fat, and then what happens? You read the label and you find out, boy, there's a lot of sugar in there. It doesn't stimulate leptin, it's stored as fat. Okay? Now also what happens is blood glucose levels go up, insulin levels go up. When we're eating a lot of grains and sugars and things like that, that puts a lot of stress on our body. Insulin is a global health marker. When insulin levels go up, your health is on the decline. Insulin levels are low, your health is on the incline. Okay? But ultimately, when we're eating foods, all these processed foods, all these grains, all these sugars, we get resistance. We become resistant to leptin. All of a sudden, leptin levels are low, and the brain doesn't even realize it's not around. So we keep eating and eating. Or I'm sorry, when it's high. We become just like we do with insulin. We get so much glucose in the blood, we stop telling insulin to go out there and grab the glucose. So all of a sudden now we have an increase in blood glucose. Okay? The average American diet consists of about 53 teaspoons a day of sugar. We need 1 or 2 traveling around the blood for quick energy. We don't need that much, right? Because we have a lot of energy in storage. You have enough sugar as energy to last about 90 minutes of very vigorous exercise. We have enough fat as storage to last us several marathons. You see these ultra-endurance athletes, 100 plus miles. They're not stopping to eat breakfast, right? They keep going and going. They may replenish on the way with quick, food sources, but they're not eating meals because they have enough in storage. So it's very important to understand those concepts. Now, one other thing that I want to explain with food is this, pH. This is a very important concept to understand. You look at a swimming, anybody have gardens? Right? If you have a garden, you'll understand this, right? You test the soil in the dirt in the garden. If it's acidic, that's a great environment for weeds. Bad environment for the flowers and the plants, right? Weeds grow in acidic environments. You look at a pool, algae is going to grow when it's acidic, right? But it's not going to grow when it's alkaline. Same thing happens with your body. When your body is in an acidic state, so you measure pH 0 to 14. 7 is in the middle, it's neutral. We want to be just above 7. 7.36, 7.41, around there. So if your body, your blood is more acidic, that's a great environment for what? Viruses, bacteria, yeast, cancer cells. If you're in an alkaline environment, those cells cannot grow. So now we want to eat foods that are going to what? Increase our alkalinity. You're going to eat foods in both columns, but we want to eat the foods that are going to produce more alkalinity within our body. That's what life is.
Is there a way to test your pH?
There
Your
is.
body's pH?
There is. I'll explain that later.
Okay.
Yes. Now, one of the things we want to look at is how most people start their day. I have a saying, we want to hydrate, alkalize, and energize. We want to hydrate first thing in the morning. Our brain is about 70% water. You lose as much water at night as you do during the day. So you want to replenish that first thing in the morning. First thing, you grab a glass of water, big glass of water. Want to hydrate, alkalize. Great way to alkalize is to put a tablespoon of aloe vera gel in your water. It's very alkaline, soothing for your entire GI tract, very healthy. You want the gel, not the juice. Cold compress, whole leaf, okay? Great way to start alkalizing your body. Now, how do a lot of people start their day? Coffee. You think it's alkaline or acidic? Acidic. Has the acidity of about 2 or 3, 4, somewhere around that range. So right away, our body becomes very acidic. What does that do? That promotes inflammation. Now, we hear that word a lot. When your body has a chronic inflammatory state, that's not healthy, right? That's heart disease, cancer, diabetes. Every one of those conditions develops some type of inflammation and acidity. And what do a lot of people do right before they go to bed? Oh, I need to relax. Have a drink, right? Wine, beer, alcohol, very acidic. Very acidic. Milk's acidic too. Very acidic. Very acidic. So now we go to bed when our body should be resting, healing, repairing. But no, it can't, because now it's in a fight or flight state. Because it's dealing with all this inflammation and acidity we're putting in the body. Alcohol has the acidity of about 3 or 4 too. So now your body is always in a state of crisis, always in a state of acidity and inflammation, right? So the first thing in the morning, hydrate, alkalize, and energize. If you have to have coffee, have it after you drink your glass of water too. Okay? You'll find when you start to incorporate this way of eating, you're not going to need coffee. Coffee is something we learn to depend on. And you know what it means when we need coffee, when you can't function without it? It means your body's so out of balance, hormonally and physiologically. I've tried coffee twice.
Is
So
decaf the same?
there's no reason to have decaf coffee, right? What are you drinking decaf coffee for?
I like the taste of it.
Right, but it does more harm than good. So, but here's the thing, right? Now, I've only had coffee twice in my life, so I'm not a coffee drinker, right? But I don't understand, this is a whole nother discussion, right? If you're sleeping well and you're eating a healthy diet, right, your body doesn't need that. There's no nutritional value in that, whether it's decaf, whether it's caffeinated. But when you start incorporating a healthy diet as part of a habit, you're not going to have to rely on those things because your body's going to be in balance. It's going to wake up with energy. You're going to go to sleep, shut down, and heal and repair. Right? That's the way we're designed. So we're taught these things. But I'm looking at it just from the standpoint of what does this do to your body? And it puts your body in a state of crisis. I'll answer your question real quick. And if you have questions, try to write them down and hold them to the end. That way we can keep moving. But go ahead. I'll answer it because you raised your hand.
Tablespoon of vinegar and water? That
Yeah, vinegar and water. Yeah. We hear apple cider vinegar and things like that. Anything that produces alkalinity.
So that's a good thing or bad?
Yeah, apple cider vinegar is good.
Okay.
Yes, you can have that. I'll allow you.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
So-
what I'm
So
Even though
what-
you think of it as being acidic, it's alkaline.
it's alkalizing. When it's in your body, like lemon is one of the most alkalizing fruits. When it's in your body, it's broken down. What's left over is alkalizing. That's how you determine whether something is not acidic or it's alkalizing or acidifying. That's how we determine that. So that's where we are with some of the foundation stuff I just wanted to touch on. But they were very important points. Okay? So now let's start to put together a healthy diet. How do we do that? Well, the best way to go about that is to start writing a list. Now, I have an app that I use. It's called My Shopping List. It's a free app. And I'm sure there's a lot of different apps. I like this one. It's just one of the first ones I found. I use it, create your habit, so I just do it. Okay? my shopping list. What I do, I like this because you can create different lists for different stores. I categorize it, fruits, proteins, grocery, oils, seeds, things like that. I can take pictures of it. I can put the prices in. So during the week, now I've compiled like a master list. Every week I know I'm gonna get chicken, I know I'm gonna get some meat, I know I'm gonna get eggs and fish. And then what we do is we'll look at some recipes. So what do you want this week? Well, we're gonna have this chicken, meat, right? Okay, so let's look at some recipes and see how we can prepare it. Now we're gonna have kind of our smaller list. What are the specialty items I may need with this? What type of, little, maybe oils we don't have, or spices, or things like that. So now that's what I put in my pantry. And I'm only gonna use a little bit of that, so I'll store it and I'll have that for a while. So I compile my master list. Now, during the week when we run out of things, what I do, I go to my list, I just start checking boxes and it moves it to my grocery cart. So pretty much by the time I leave my house to go shopping, I already know what I need, how much roughly it's gonna cost. Because we have a budget, so I know, am I staying on budget? We'll talk more about that as we go shopping, right? But creating a list is very helpful because when you're at the grocery store, and you don't go hungry, by the way, right? You go to the grocery store, you say, oh, look, maybe we'll grab this, we'll grab that.
I made that mistake last week.
So you don't want to do that. You want to compile a list, and what you want to do is create that list beforehand and create a master list. Now, bonfirehealth.com, bonfire, right? Bonfirehealth.com, you can print out their master shopping list. Another great list that I found is my wife bought these books, great books. They're all in line with a very healthy, very paleo type diet. And that word, I know we have all these words. Paleo diet, let me just explain real quick because a lot of this comes from that philosophy, okay? Paleo just means Paleolithic times, right? What did our Paleolithic ancestors eat? Well, they ate things that flew overhead, ran by them, swam by them, things that are grown from a tree or out of the ground. That's all they had. They didn't have stores, right? So that's what they ate. That's what we're designed to eat. So paleo diet comes from Paleolithic diet. All the information I'm going to review with you tonight is based on over 2.5 million years of research because that's what they ate. And they didn't have heart disease, cancers, diabetes, and all the other problems, right? So that's where this comes from. Another shopping list comes from a website, Whole, W-H-O-L-E, whole30.com. You can download their shopping list. They have some great downloads, okay? It's a great book, great recipes too in their book if you want to buy their book, but you can download a lot of great information there.
It's called Whole what?
W-H-O-L-E 30.com, whole30.com. Now, so you have this shopping list, create a master list, right? So that every time you go to the grocery store, what I do is I already have most of that list done during the week when things run out. I open the fridge, I just check my favorite items off my master list, and I say, okay, do we need any of these? Boom, 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 yes, we need 3 of these. I go to my pantry, there's a couple things in there we need, and I'm done. Go to the store, it takes me an hour, right? So that's a good way to get organized, right? Look at some recipes during the week, and I told my wife, hey, once we find recipes, why don't we put them in those little clear things and create a binder? Create our own cookbook, right? So that's an easy way to go about, hey, we like this, we like that. So you get like 15 recipes with chicken, maybe 15 recipes with meat. Now you have a whole cookbook. You might eat the same thing once a month, but that's an easy way to do it. Easy way to do it, and it makes it simple for you because you're gonna have the ingredients in your list, right? So that's a good way to start your list and to start the shopping, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a tour of the store, a virtual tour of the grocery store. And where we're gonna start, when you walk in, most times you start where? Produce. That's where we're gonna start. I'm gonna make this very easy for you. When you're in the produce section, the fruits and vegetables, do you know what ones you wanna pick out and buy? All of them, right? You don't have any limitations here. Fruits and vegetables, right? We need them. Now, a couple questions I know are gonna come up. Well, do I buy organic? Do I buy non-organic? What do I buy? I'm going to give you a couple resources. The one resource is WH Foods, World's Healthiest Foods, whfoods.com. And what they're going to give you, they have tremendous resources at this website. They have a tremendous list of foods. And what they've done is they compiled a list of what foods have the highest pesticide residue on them. So, you want to know if you should buy organic or not, this is where you go. Because I can't tell you what to buy, right? That's your choice based on, okay, this is our budget, what can we do? I'll give you a rule of thumb though. If you're going to eat the fruit, the whole fruit, outer and inner, that's the time that maybe I'll put money into organic. But if I'm not going to eat the outside of a pineapple, I don't necessarily need to spend money on an organic pineapple. Now, if I'm going to juice it, which you can, then maybe I need to buy organic. Okay, but you use that website, that's a great website and a tool to determine where do I want to spend my money. Now, they have an abbreviated list. It's clean 15, dirty dozen, but they have a very comprehensive list as well. And that's a great resource because you can see, do we need to spend money on organic here or not? Right? You don't need to buy everything organic. This is a great resource that can help guide you. Okay? Now, another question is, well, can I clean the fruit off? Yes, you can clean it off, but you can't wash off the residue from pesticides and herbicides. That's in there, period. But you can clean the fruit. Now, you can buy washes and things like that, but here's an easy trick. Take what I do when I go shopping, I come home, right? And of course, my kids run out to the car and help me take all the bags in. It's automatic. My dog licks me, my wife walks at me. Anyway, so I bring all the bags in, right? And I kind of put it on the conveyor belt thing in sections. I'm not a real type A personality, by the way. So I put all the fruits and vegetables together because then when I get home, I take those out and I have bowls that I put them in. I fill the bowls with, well, first I put a tablespoon of lemon juice and a tablespoon of baking soda in there. One's alkaline, one's acidic. They mix, they form this little explosion. You'll hear them go like that. Then I put cold water in there. So I take my fruits and vegetables and I dump them in, right? Then I take everything out of the bags, put it away, come back, rinse it off, maybe put another group in there, and you'll see the water turns brown. Okay, but you're washing it off. You're not taking stuff off that are pests, but you're washing it off. Okay? Now, things like berries, cranberries, blackberries, you don't want to do that because they'll get real soggy. Strawberries, only keep them in there for maybe up to 5 minutes because they get soft, right? But other things you keep in there all day, it doesn't matter. Okay? But that's a good way just to wash them off. So that's what I do when I get home. I rinse them off, put them in the fridge. My rule is, if it's in a bag, we haven't cleaned it. If it's not in a bag, go for it. Now, sometimes I'll chop a lot of things up, chop the melons up, sometimes I won't. It kind of depends how much time I have. But usually it'll take me an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes when I come home to cut everything up if I do that. Now, one thing I don't wear ties and I have a lot of socks, so my wife doesn't get me ties or socks for Christmas. This is what she gets me, little containers for my produce, right? So she gave me all these containers for Christmas. This is, it's called Progressive Prep Works. Now, she got it online, but she also just saw it at Bed Bath & Beyond. Now, the reason why she gave me this, because certain vegetables and fruits should be stored sealed, some should be open, some should have water, right, little moisture. So you get a little list with these little containers. It tells you, okay, this, carrots should be stored with water and should be open to the air. But things like broccoli should be, or closed. Things like broccoli should have water, but they should be open to the air. Okay? So I keep my spinach in here, my berries, a lot of my fruits, my lettuce. They have big containers too. This is the smallest one. You take the bottom off. For the different size, you put, like this one requires 1 or 2 tablespoons of water. Put the water in the bottom. You just put the plastic thing back on, like the bottom lid. The water never touches it because it's got little holes in there. So my lettuce will stay crisp all week. I put 3 heads of lettuce in there. My spinach, it cracks after a week. Right? So good containers. I don't know how much they cost. you know, I'm sure it was on the Visa bill. I just paid the balance.
And what are they
But-
called?
Progressive Prep Works. So, so people a lot of times ask, well, how long do you shop for the week? Do you shop because things go bad? That's an easy way to store things. Okay. So now another thing is, especially if you're new to eating a lot of different fruits and vegetables, you want to find out, well, where do I get the best bang for my buck? Great website, EWG.org, environmentalworkinggroup.org. What they do is they do a plethora of tests to determine the density of nutrients within foods. They rate them from 0 to 1,000. So 1,000 kale, okay, that's the most nutrient-dense vegetable. So for example, oatmeal, we hear oatmeal heart healthy and all this stuff. Well, it's not, and I'll explain that to you. But that's 53. So you have to have 53 bowls of oatmeal to equal 1 bowl of kale.
Whoa.
Right, so you want to save money? Go to the list and find out where you're going to get most nutrients. Okay, it's just a good resource. So fruits and vegetables, that kind of gives you some direction as to, do I buy organic or not? Okay, thick outer layer that I'm not going to eat, probably not going to have to pay the money to buy organic. Grapes, strawberries, berries. Okay, if that's something that's important to you, I'm going to buy organic. Okay. Now, fruits and vegetables, obviously, I don't have to talk too much about why they're important. But one of the things, vitamins and minerals, nutrients, but one of the things very important about it, antioxidants. Okay, they fight free radicals. These are cells that cause cancer, cause breakdown of your body. They also cause inflammation and acidity. Fruits and vegetables are going to counteract that. Very alkaline, very healthy. You want to alkalize your water? Take a lemon, cut a little piece, squeeze it in the water, dump the lemon in there. You're alkalizing your water. Okay, lemon again is one of the most alkalizing fruits that you can find. Okay, now if you're exercising or drinking a lot of water, you might want to do it in every other bottle of water because it could be a lot for your body. Okay, so that's how we choose them. That's how we clean them. That's how we store them. Okay, fruits and vegetables. So now what I do is I look at what do I buy the most of? Fruits and vegetables, because I do a lot of juicing and things like this and I eat a lot of it. Then I turn the corner and I go over to where I spend a lot of money also. That's going to be in my meats, eggs, fish, the protein department. Okay? Now, the fish are easy to talk about. Buy cold water fish. Ones that are middle swimmers. Pacific and Alaskan, real cold water. Salmon, halibut, mahi-mahi, mackerel. These are your really good, healthy fish. Okay? Doesn't mean you can't have shrimp or things like that every once in a while, but the core bulk of your diet, that's where you want to go. Great fats in there. I'm going to tell you about fats in a minute. Okay? So that's what we want to look at when we look at fish. Now, Whole Foods, I love going to Whole Foods, and I know when people hear Whole Foods, they think, oh, it's going to cost me a lot of money. Okay, and people that I've talked to about this and have actually gone there and started to buy food there, you'll find that fruits and vegetables are the same or less than in the regular grocery store. The meats may be a little bit more, but I'll tell you about that. But here's the thing. You want to buy wild caught, that's going to be the best. Second option is going to be farm raised. The one thing I like about Whole Foods is you're really not going, I was going to say overboard, you're really not, you're really not doing too much harm when you buy the farm raised there because they're in deep, deep ponds, deep tanks, and the diet is pretty healthy because I was talking to him about that. So you're swimming in fairly safe water, no pun intended, when you buy the farm raised there. And also, you're not going to get hormones and antibiotics and dyes in your fish because a lot of the salmon is dyed. To make it red, to make it look good. You don't want to buy a brown salmon. You want to buy a red salmon. Well, the way they make it red, after it's been, dead for a week, they put dyes in it. Same thing with the fruits, citrus fruits and things like this. You cut an apple that's organic, put it on a plate, cut another apple that's not organic, put it on a plate, put it in the refrigerator. Within a day or two, the organic one is brown. The other one stays beautiful for few weeks. We did it for about 3 weeks and then we just threw it out, right? This is fruit. It's not meant to make you sick. It's not meant to give you allergies. It's meant to give you nutrients, right? So this is why we do this program. So with the fish, same thing, okay? Now, like I buy some salmon at a Whole Foods. It's got about 6 fillets, right? Cost me $20. Not bad. Now it is farm raised, but when I read, now my kids don't like the taste of the sockeye salmon and all. So I have to weigh it out. Okay, it's important for them to get the salmon. Okay, so I'll bend on this. No big deal. I'm type A, I'm flexible. So that's but those are ways that, that's pretty good. That's, for me, that's a week worth of lunch for $20. That's not bad, right? So now let's talk a little bit more about, let's move over to the eggs, okay? Eggs are healthy for you. You can eat a lot of eggs. You don't have to worry about cholesterol, okay? Protein is important because the amino acids that make up protein are the building blocks for your immune system, your nervous system, your brain. This is important stuff for your muscles, okay? There are 21 amino acids. 9 are essential, means you have to get them from food. Protein, animal protein, gives you a complete source of amino acids. Great source of fat, right? Eggs, you get half the protein from the egg whites, half the protein from the egg yolks. And you got a lot of vitamins and nutrients from the egg yolks. It's good for you. Your liver, see, this is the thing. This came about back in the 70s and 80s. A lot of people with cardiovascular disease. We're studying these people. What do we find? Well, there's a big correlation between cardiovascular disease and these people all have a lot of saturated fats in their blood. Interesting. So we're going to infer from that the saturated fats cause a cardiovascular disease. And where do we find saturated fats? Eggs, red meat, right? I guess they forgot about fish. But red meats, egg. So limit that. Gotta watch your cholesterol. Decrease the eggs, maybe 1 a week. But heck, I should be dead because I eat like 5 or 6 a day, right? But here's the thing. Cholesterol doesn't cause cardiovascular disease. Not from the meats and the eggs. Your liver will produce 3 to 10 times the amount of cholesterol than you get from food. Now it depends what kind of eggs and what kind of meats. See, when you're looking at fish, when you're looking at meats, when you're looking at eggs, you want to know how was that animal raised and what did it eat? Because I'm eating what it ate. I don't know if that made sense. It sounded weird when it came out. All right, but I'm going to go over a couple of things that you read on the labels, okay? We hear things like cage-free. That sounds good to me, right? Cage-free. There is no legal definition for this term. Hens laying eggs labeled as cage-free are uncaged and generally have a bit more space than caged eggs, but they may never see the light of day. Their cage may be here. They may be allowed to go from here to here, but they're out of the cage. And it also does not tell you what the diet is of that hen. Okay? So it's a great marketing term, right? Free range or free roaming. The USDA has defined no free range standards for eggs and allows producers to freely label any eggs as such. Man, I thought I was doing good. Now this is throwing me all off, right? They will have more outside the cage time than inside the cage time. Free range, free roaming, typically they're going to see some light. Okay, but again, it doesn't mean their diet was healthy. Grass-fed. Grass-fed means during the course of this cow, this bison's life, this hen's life, it's eating some grass. Okay, that should be their diet. Grass-finished means it's eaten grass for its entire life. It's eaten during the course of its life congruently with what its body needs. That's going to be your best bet. One thing you want to look for is organic. So when you are looking for organic, not organic ingredients, but organic, this is the sign you want to look for. USDA organic. Okay, that's the label. This is what's important when you're looking for eggs and meats and things like that. You want to understand what that animal ate, because if it's a grass-fed animal, okay, that means there's going to be a healthy amount of fat. We're looking at omega-6 and omega-3. Omega-6, now they're both good, we need them, but in the right ratio and quantity. But if there's too much omega-6, now we run into bad fat, polyunsaturated fats. That's not good, right? A grass-fed animal is going to have a good ratio, 1-to-1, maybe 2-to-1. But a grain-fed animal could have a ratio as high as 20-to-1. There's your cholesterol and your cardiovascular disease. Okay? So you want to educate yourself on what that animal has been fed. Now, why does someone give the animal grains? Because it fattens them up. They gain a lot of weight, twice as much weight in a short period of time. And it's cheaper. And it doesn't require a lot of space to graze. Right? You keep it in a small area and just keep feeding the grains. Right? So you want to watch this. This is very important. You also want to be aware of no hormones, no additives, no steroids, these types of things. Okay? Now, somebody asked me to research eggs for them. They said, hey, I'm buying these eggs. I want to know if they're healthy or not. They happen to be Eggland's Best, right? Because on the label, on the box, it says no hormones, no additives, no steroids, which is great. That's a great choice. But now I said, well, I need to research what that hen ate. He said, okay. He didn't really understand me at that time, right? Their diets are made up of corn, soy, rice, alfalfa. Those are all GMO products if they're not organic, right? So now I'm eating a diet that's filled with glyphosate and all these chemicals. Go to our website, watch the GMO workshop. That's not healthy, okay? Now, Eggland's Best has two different varieties. They have a regular and an organic. The organic hens are fed organic diets, but it's still a vegetarian diet, right? So you want to be aware of that. Eggs can be enriched with or omega-3 added to. Okay, that's good. You want to see stuff like that, all right? So this is the deal with cholesterol. What causes cholesterol? The overconsumption of starchy carbohydrates. That's what causes cholesterol. This is why. Eating too much of starchy grains and sugars and carbohydrates produces inflammation. Inflammation causes your body to react and respond to some type of crisis that it thinks it's under. Because your body has inflammation. It becomes very acidic. So right away, your liver starts pumping out lipoproteins and cholesterol, which is appropriate response. Because it says, hey, we could be under crisis, we can be under attack, we can have a virus. We need these things, it's appropriate. It's appropriate response. But it's a response to the food you're eating. So now you're producing so much cholesterol in response to the food that you're eating because of the inflammation. Now you have high blood cholesterol. See, that's what produces the cholesterol problem. It's not the healthy meats. It's not the eggs. That's what produces cholesterol. So, you know, the breads and things like this. Somebody asked me earlier today, well, what about Ezekiel bread? She actually was here at the last workshop. And I said, hey, you're still eating that Ezekiel bread? She goes, you remember that? I said, oh, yeah, I remember. Right? I'm going to ask Ken if he's eating taters. Sweet. There you go. I can't remember to bring things home at night, but I can remember this stuff. Right? She said, well, Ezekiel bread's good. What about sprouted bread? I said, it's still grains. Bread is bread. Healthier version, right? But it's still bread. It's still high in grains, high in sugar. So you can buy a healthier version because it doesn't have all the chemicals in it or additives. Maybe it hasn't been as refined, but it's still going to produce the same result. That produces inflammation. A sandwich a day, inflammation, inflammation, inflammation. I don't understand. I don't even eat a lot of red meat or eggs. Why? I don't have this cholesterol problem. well, how much grains do you eat? How much bread and white rice and all this? Like, why are you asking me that? I'm talking about cholesterol, right? But right away, we infer that because meats and eggs have cholesterol, that's what produces the cholesterol problems, right? So it's the same thing as saturated fats, right? Meats, healthy saturated fats. Well, I'll talk about that when we get to the fats. Now, I love going to Whole Foods because Whole Foods lists their food. When you look at the label on the meats, it's going to have the label, protein, carbohydrates, things like this. It's also going to have a number, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And this is very important to be aware of. The number 1 means that animal has been grass-fed for 1/4 of its life. 2, half its life. 3, 3/4, 4, its whole life. So sometimes I go there and there is no 4. There's a 2 or a 3. Okay, at least I'm informed and I'm aware of that. No big deal, I'm going to buy it, right? I know it doesn't have the hormones and stuff like this. But I'm going to try, again, I go to the meat section, the protein section, I call it, second, because I know I'm going to spend some money there. So I want to say, okay, based on what my choices are, what am I going to buy? Where am I with my budget? Right? So that helps me determine what am I going to buy. And again, I know the prices of it, so I know before I leave the house. So I budget for it. I'll leave out some things to put those good things in. Okay? So that's where we are with the protein. Now, what about pigs and bacon and ham? Our digestive tract, it takes about 24 hours for us to process food. A pig, it takes about 4 hours. Okay, and they're scavengers. And oftentimes they're fed what? We'll throw the corn out there, right? So corn and things that they're not really eating in nature. So now we're eating that. A lot of times it can be GMO, right? So now I'm eating food that a pig has eaten, and it processes it very quickly. So I'm not getting a healthy diet from that food. Now, if you are going to have some bacon and things like that, which nothing wrong with that every once in a while, right? Make sure it doesn't have nitrates and nitrites in it, okay? That's real important to look for. Now, you can go for turkey bacon too, but if you just truly need to have bacon, that's a better choice, okay? So now, we talked about the eggs, we talked about the meats, right? We talked about the fish. Now we're going to move on to nuts, seeds, and oils. This is where we're going to get our fat. This is where we're going to get that saturated fat that we need, right? All that fat we're going to cook with, all that fat we're going to put on our food. Wait a minute, this is a little bit different. This is not congruent with what I've been taught. I've been taught fat should be a little bit. Nuts, seeds are at the little part of the pyramid. The grains are at the bottom. We need fat. That's our energy source. It's important for our immune system, our nervous system, our brain. We need fats. We need saturated fats. We need the right kinds in the right order, right? Here's the thing. We think saturated fats are bad for us. What about Eskimos? Do we see a big epidemic of cardiovascular disease and stroke coming out of Alaska or wherever Eskimos live? No. Their diets are about 97, 98% fat, blubber fat, whales, seals, walruses, salmon. Very low incidence of cardiovascular disease. It's not until we said, hey, why don't you guys put that on a piece of bread? Right? Put some rice with it and try this potato with your salmon. That's when they started having problems. But that food doesn't cause problems, right? That's not where saturated fat is a problem. It's unhealthy saturated fat, right? When you're eating the grains and stuff like that. See, when you're eating the grains, see, saturated fat has something in it called palmitic acid. It's a type of fat, polyunsaturated fat, right? Fatty acid. But now in food, there are other fats that kind of say, hey, buddy, stay away. We're going to push you over here so you're not going to affect this person. So it's very difficult to isolate palmitic acid. So because the meats and the eggs and all have a lot of saturated fats, we correlate that and we say, we see a lot of saturated fats in these people. That's what their diet consists of, so there must be, that's the cause. Now, we're going to talk about our friend grains again. Grains, okay, starchy carbohydrates. When they're broken down in your body, what do you think they're broken down to?
Sugar.
Sugar. and they're stored as fat, triglycerides, palmitic acid. That's the problem. That's where you get that's where you get your cardiovascular disease, your strokes, your heart attacks. Not from consuming too much salmon, right? But by eating too much starchy carbohydrates. That's what produces the problem. See, I don't know if you realize this, but in the summer, there's an increase in ice cream consumption. June, July, and August. Ice cream consumption goes up. I've been watching it. It goes up. Okay? Now, what I've noticed is, during those same months, June, July, and August, shark attacks go up. Ice cream consumption goes up and shark attacks go up. There's got to be a correlation. When ice cream consumption goes up, there's automatically going to be shark attacks. Let's stop eating ice cream. Nobody gets bitten. Right? That's what we did with the meats and the eggs and all that. We correlated the two just because there was some type of relationship.
They were both there.
They were both there, but it doesn't cause the strokes and the heart attacks. It's the overconsumption of the starches and the sugars. Okay? That's what produces the cardiovascular disease. So let's eat fat, right? Seeds, nuts, and oils. That's where we're going to get that from. So let's talk about this a little bit. In fact, let me share with you a study that I read. In 2010, there was a study, 347,000 people. Over 23 years, they followed these people and did over 21 studies on these people. This is what they found. This is from the Journal of Clinical Nutrition, very prestigious journal. I quote, "There was no significant evidence for concluding that dietary saturated fat is associated with increased risk of coronary heart disease, stroke, or cardiovascular disease." Right? It's not saturated fat, like I said. It's what's broken down from the carbohydrates to palmitic acid. That's what causes the fat, the problems. Okay. Now, when we're looking at oils, nuts, and seeds, they're healthy. Now, there's all different kinds. Extra virgin olive oil, great oil to put on things and eat. My salad, all over the place, right? You don't want to cook with it high heat, low and medium heat. Okay, you saute things and stuff like this, right? You want to use your extra virgin, non-refined, cold compressed extra virgin olive oil. Okay? Excellent for putting on food and cooking low temperatures. Grapeseed oil is another one. Now, the reason for that is because it denatures, okay, and breaks down easy. You want to use a stable saturated fat to cook with. It's more stable when it's heated, like a coconut oil or an almond oil. These are oils you want to heat up, okay? Now, we want to stay away from certain oils, things like hydrogenated oils, partially hydrogenated oils. We want to stay away from vegetable oils, canola oil. We want to stay away from cottonseed oil, sunflower oil. These are oils that are not healthy. Safflower oil, soybean oil. For one thing, they come from a lot of GMO products, but they're also not healthy for us, okay? They can go rancid when they are exposed to oxygen, heat, or light. They produce free radicals. Unhealthy for our body, causes damage. So on a shelf, they're exposed to light. The chances are those oils have already become rancid before you even put them in your car. Then we expose them to air and we cook with them, heated them up, they become rancid. That's what happens in your body. Those oils become rancid when you eat it and become more rancid when they're in your body. Very unhealthy. So we want to stay away from those oils. Now, we want to stay with the olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil. These are oils we want to cook with. Those are healthy oils. cashews, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts. These are the best nuts because they have pretty high amount of monounsaturated fatty acids, low amount of polyunsaturated, okay? In moderation, almonds, Brazilian nuts, pecans, whatever you call them, pistachios, okay? In moderation, because they have a little bit higher amount of polyunsaturated fatty acids. These are still all healthy. Limited amount of flax seed, pumpkin, sesame, walnuts, okay? Because they have higher amounts of polyunsaturated fatty acids. Not that they're bad, because they're good, but it takes longer for them to convert the omega-3s to EPA and DHA. It just takes longer. So you kind of run out of time by the time you digest it. That's why we want to limit those nuts, okay? So we want to cook with nuts. We want to cook with those oils. We want to put them on our food, and we want to eat a lot of them. 40% of our diet should be healthy fats. So this is very important because the more you cook with them, the more you put them on your plate, the longer it's going to take for you to break them down, the more energy you're going to consume to break them down. That equates to the more calories you're going to expend to break them down. The longer you're going to go before you're hungry again, the more calories you're going to burn, the more fat you burn. Your body's working very efficiently. Same thing with proteins. Takes longer to break them down. So your body has to expend more energy. So that's why the fats are important, right? They're going to hold you over for longer periods of time. See, when I talk to our hunter-gatherer relatives, when I meditate, I talk to a guy 40,000 years ago. Right? Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Right? 40,000 years. But the reason why the fats are important, because back then, they weren't eating maybe every day. They weren't having big meals every day. They had to go out and catch their food, right? So they might have missed some of the salmon or the buffalo, right? So they've gone longer without eating. So they had to store a lot of fat. That's why we need fat, right? Because of what the precedence was set. Genetically, we're designed that way. So that's what our body needs. So we want to be consuming healthy fats. You want to use butter? That's fine. You want to cook with butter? Use clarified butter. Ghee. I call it ghee. I miss it, right? These are healthy fats, saturated fats. Those are the things you want to cook with. Okay? Organic butter. They take the milk part of it, the dairy part of it out, and you're left with just the saturated fat. That's what clarified butter is, and ghee. Ghee is an Indian form of clarified butter.
Buy it in a bottle somewhere.
Yeah, you go to Whole Foods, you get it.
You can also mix butter with olive oil when you cook.
Yeah, you can make it. If you Google it, you can learn how to clarify your butter and all. Okay, but there are a lot of substitutes. If you look at the fats, right? The almonds, the coconuts. You can buy almond milk. You can buy coconut milk. I put coconut shreds on my fruit with a little almond butter, a tablespoon or two of almond butter with my fruits, and shredded coconuts on there, about a tablespoon or two. Healthy fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. That's a great snack. I'll talk more about it when we put our meals together. So that's what we want to look for in the store. So when we look at our meals, okay, our meals should all be about the same. How much should you be eating? So we're going to use a plate. We're going to use a regular sized dinner plate. And we're going to put protein on there first. How much protein do you need? Well, about the size of your palm. Okay? Between 1 and 2 palms. Okay, so you can go up to 2 palms. Depends on your size, depends on your energy level. Right? Now, look, here's the thing. You can't go to your husband and say, honey, you're 6'5", I'm using your palm. Right? So that's an estimate. That's an estimate. Okay? So first you want to put that on your plate. Then you want to put vegetables on your plate. As much as you want. Your body's going to dictate how much you eat. Okay? So that's what you want on your plate next, the vegetables. Now you want to garnish it with cilantro, some basil, some spinach, all the herbs you can think of. That's what brings out taste. You don't need to sprinkle things on. Cut them up, put them on there, right? The other day I made, like when I make my eggs in the morning, I make breakfast for my wife and I, right? So I put a tablespoon of coconut oil in the thing, right? Heats up, and in my little container, sometimes they're cut up, sometimes they're just sliced. I take some orange and yellow and red peppers, cut them up, I put them in there, cut up my spinach, put it in there. Maybe tomatoes and onions sometime, right? Then I crack my eggs, I put them right in there. I don't put anything else. Sometimes, you can use sometimes people use milk, well, you can use almond milk, right? You can use coconut milk. I just crack the eggs, put them in there, stir it all up. And when you don't use a lot of oil, the eggs are like real thin. When you use a lot of oil like that, a tablespoon, they get real fluffy because they're taking it in, right? That's good stuff. Then I juice. I have about 4 carrots, an apple, a couple of pieces of kale, a piece of chard, whole glass. So I'm eating a lot of fat, and I cut up an avocado. I garnish our plate with avocado, and I mix all that stuff up with avocado. So I got some great fats I cooked with, and I'm eating. I have my eggs, which also have fat, a lot of protein, right? Then I have my vegetables, a little bit in the eggs, and I'm drinking it. That is a hugely complete meal. Doesn't take me long. It's not hard. The other day I made meat, right? So I put a pound of buffalo meat in the thing put coconut oil in there, right? And then in another little pan thing, I cut up onions, some scallions. I cut up cashews. Good fatty nut. Cut up cashews, and when the meat was brown, I put all the onions and the cashews in with the meat, mix it all together, and I cut up all my vegetables, some cucumber, yellow and green, what do you call that, squash or whatever, right, those things. I put that in there, some tomatoes, some onions, a little bit of basil, a little bit of cilantro. I put it all in there. I don't let those cook too long because I still want them crisp and hard. I don't want to denature them and dry them out, right? So I put all those in there. What a great meal. Got a lot of healthy fat, right? Yeah, and I could have sprinkled coconut on there or something like that too. But I put my nuts in there. So I cook with those oils. I eat nuts. I cook with the nuts, right? That's how we get our fat. So your plate should look like 1 or 2 pounds of protein, a bunch of vegetables, and then nuts, herbs, things like that. You want to have about a closed hand, if you're just eating a stack of nuts, about a closed hand like this of nuts, right? An open palm of fruit at one sitting, okay? The oils, between 1 and 2 tablespoons, okay? That's about your gauge. Now, if you're making a salad, you put oil and vinegar on it, you see how much you need, right? Maybe not a tablespoon, but that's what you want to use as a gauge to cook with, depending on how much you're cooking and things like that. That's it. That's as simple as it is. That's as hard as it gets, rather, right? Now, those are your meals. Now, your snacks should resemble your meals, but cut them in half. Because if you're eating that much protein and that much fat, you're not going to be hungry as much. You're going to go longer. A lot of times it's just a psychological thing. Oh, I should be eating something. I got to put something in my mouth. Or I'm getting fidgety, I'm getting bored or tired or whatever. I got to eat something. But your body doesn't need it. You're telling yourself you need it. But if you need a snack, like a lot of times I'll have snacks here, right? So you just cut your meal in half. You still want to have protein, you still want to have fats, you still want to have healthy carbohydrates. So like I said, I take a thing of almond butter, coconut, some fruit. That's a healthy snack, right? You make a shake, maybe a little coconut water, right? Almond milk, something like that, protein powder, mix it up. That's a good snack, right? Or you juice, like I juice a lot. So those are good snacks. So that's my morning juice. I'm going to share with you my afternoon juice. I didn't forget about your question the other day. So my lunch juice goes something like this. I have about 3 carrots, an apple, wheatgrass, just a pinch because it's very potent, very strong. A pinch of arugula, I don't know how much, but maybe like this much, I don't know. Then I do dandelion, I do wintercress, 2 pieces of kale, piece of chard, about a third of a cucumber, a slice of lemon about this thick, a little bit of ginger, and I put it in the juicer and I drink it. It gives me about that much juice. So that's what I was talking about. So, but a great place to go for juicing is Reboot with Joe. It's from the movie Sick, Fat, Nearly Dead, right? Great documentary. Check it out. But if you want to juice, that's a great place to go for recipes. Literally, 100+ recipes for juices and smoothies, right? And I do some smoothies. My kids do some smoothies. I like to eat my fruit. I just, like that. So when you juice, yeah, you are going to lose some of the fiber, but you got to weigh it out. I'm not going to sit there and eat all that, so I juice it, right? What I've done in the past, I take the extract from my juicer, I dump it in a blender, put some almond milk, mix it up, and I can drink it, right? Still good stuff. Or I'm going to start a compost pile and put in my compost and make my herb garden out of that, right? So, snacks are very easy. A handful of nuts, some fruit. Doesn't have to be hard. It's very simple. Like I'm going away this weekend. So what am I going to do? I'm going to Virginia Beach for lacrosse tomorrow. So I sit under a tent for like 6 hours to watch 3 games. It is fun though. No, but so I know I'm going to be there for a while. So what am I going to do? I'm going to get 2 Tupperware things of fruit. Friday and Saturday. I'm going to put a thing of almond butter in there, my coconut, mix it all up, all my fruit. I have honeydew, cantaloupe, bananas, strawberries, blueberries, what do you call them? Cranberries, avocado. I mix everything. Watermelon. I don't discriminate. Everything's in it. I said, how can you eat pineapple with that? I'm like, God gave it to me. He said it's okay. I eat it. Right? But no, I just mix everything. Sometimes people are like, so I'm going to take 2 containers of that. That's my snack during the day. I'm going to take a container that I've already pre-cooked salmon and put it in there. I sit there at these lacrosse games, people are like, you bring your food? Heck yeah, look what you're eating. But it's interesting because after a while, people ask me, so what is that? How'd you make that? And they start asking. And then I see people start doing that. I just eat, I do my thing. I don't try to preach to people. Now, if they ask me a question, watch out. Right? Now, I'm not going to bring my juices because I'm going to be there for a few days, so I go to Whole Foods. They're not too expensive, not too bad. They're $3.99. I'm only going to buy like 3, but I'm going to buy my juices full of kale and cucumbers and celery and stuff like this. Oh, I put celery in that one too. 1 stalk of celery. Or 1 thing of celery, 1 thing. Right. So, but I'm going to buy the juices so I don't miss a beat. Now I'm going to go out to dinner with everyone and eat the thing, but this is my lunch. Right? I'm going to boil a dozen eggs. So in the morning, because we start real early, I'm going to grab my eggs. My son's going to eat his eggs. My wife will have an egg or 2. The other 2 may or may not. I can't sell them on that. It stinks. It smells bad. It's going to be horrible, right? But see, that's how I make it easy. When I go home, when I go shopping over the weekend, at some point, I make like 5 or 6 salmon, piece of salmon. That's my lunch. If we eat chicken, I'm going to cook 3 or 4 extra chicken pieces. That's my lunch. If we, I buy these cubes of meat and stuff like that, so I make an extra pound. That's lunch. That's my kids' lunch too. Go to school, I chop it up, put in a thing, boom, they're gone. Right? So that's an easy way to prepare your meals. You don't have to cook your lunches all day. Lunch is the one that most people don't really make, and that's an easy way to do it. And now all my stuff is clean, so I grab fruits and vegetables. Boom, 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 put them in the bowl, close it up, I'm ready to go. It's an easy way to do it, right? It's not difficult. Yeah, when you have kids, you got to be a little bit creative. They might not eat everything I do, but it's interesting. My kids will pick stuff up and they're like, Dad, can I have this? Does this have energy? Like, that's the way my kids talk to me. Does this have energy? I'm like, well, what do you think? Probably not. Well, do you want to eat it? I'm not going to eat it. I wouldn't eat that. Now, it's kind of a psychological thing, right? I wouldn't eat it. I'll go back to our cooler. Yeah, then they'll rebel. But no, I mean, you got to give them a little leeway too. When we're at the game, I know they're going to have all these, parents, we have the food table, and it's like, oh my God, it's a table of death. But okay, my kids are I know that, right? So I don't go crazy about it because if I know if I'm always over them, then they're going to rebel. So you got to give them a little leeway. But you know what? The choices they make, they ask me questions, I know they're thinking about it. My 12-year-old will Google GMO workshops, and he watches this stuff online. He goes to school and he tells his friends about it. He's like, you know you're going to die eating that. Well, we got to work on the presentation a little bit. You know, we were at a picnic one time, a girl was drinking soda. My son went up to her, he goes, what is that? She goes, oh, it's, soda. He goes, you know you're going to get cancer and die?
Oh my God.
But probably not going to be dating her in the future. But he's thinking about stuff. He's reading labels, right? We go to the lacrosse thing. He reads the labels to his friends, right? This is a 12-year-old, right? That's pretty strong, right? So we're building them like that. So Whole30 has a lot of information. Now, and then I'll answer a question. One other thing, pre and post workout. What do I eat before I work out? Now, depending upon how long you're going to work out, how intense it is, you want to gauge your meals. Try to have at least an hour window, hour to an hour and a half window, okay? Now, you want to have some protein and fat beforehand. Don't want to have the vegetables and the fruit. Okay, a little bit of protein, a little bit of fat, right? So maybe a hard-boiled egg, avocado. That's great. It's easy to digest. Like that's what I have, before a race or something like that. Eggs don't bother me. I eat a hard-boiled egg. It's not like it sits in my stomach, but fruit will, vegetables will. Okay, so that's a good snack. Protein powder, stuff like that. Okay, that's good. I put a coconut water and a little protein powder. I drink that on the way if I go to the gym or something like this, right? So that's good, and it's easy to digest. Afterwards, you don't really want to have the fat. Oh, so how much? About half a meal, right? So if a palm, half a palm, 2 palms a palm, right? So you kind of have to gauge that with protein powder, right? And then afterwards, you don't want to have your fat. You want to have your protein, maybe a little bit of fruit, but you also want to have your heavier carbohydrates, like your sweet potatoes, your yams, stuff like that, a little bit of bulk, okay? You want to eat within about 30 to 60 minutes. You have a window where you want to feed your body because you just broke it down. So now you want to build it up and feed it. Okay?
Even for those little bitty 15, 20-minute workouts?
No, I mean, you're not going to have to replenish. This is like, you do want to have something, but that's an easy thing to just have a little bite of something. You're not having a big thing, right? Maybe you have a protein shake and maybe, something like that. But you do want to give your body something. You want to feed your body. Remember, you're feeding your body, you're not filling it. That's the whole thing with food. You're feeding your body. And when you do that, now your muscles are going to repair better, more efficiently. Okay? So it doesn't have to be a big thing. A lot of times I'll just have a protein shake.
What kind of protein are you putting in the shake?
Yeah, great question. And I go through different types of protein powder. JARROW makes a good protein. They make a plant-based protein. What I'm real particular about my protein powder is what else is in there, because all I want is the protein. And a lot of times you'll see like soy isolate. These are your GMOs. So that's a great protein. There's another one that I just got, and I wish I could tell you what the name is, but I will have it for you. So when you come in next time, I'll have it up front. For anybody who wants to know, if you have a question about it, just email me, okay? And then I'll email you back. But it's a great protein. It's a plant-based protein. I got a big thing of it. It was like $30. It lasts me. I don't do the 2 scoops. I do about a scoop. But it lasts me, well over a month and a half.
What do you mix it with?
I mix it with coconut water. I mix it with almond milk. My son likes the almond milk. He likes rice milk, actually. My oldest one. But yeah, I use coconut water rather. Coconut water.
So there's peanut, PB2 and all that, that's peanut.
Well, peanuts are, you got to watch the GMO.
It's peanut butter powder without the fat, which is no good, right? So those are.
No, because peanuts naturally have fat in it.
It's a protein powder, but it's.
Yeah, see, once you start saying peanuts without the fat, or Bananas without the calcium, now you've done something to it that's not natural. Right. Almond butter is gonna be a better choice than peanuts. But I would stick with the protein powder like that. Yeah, or just eat a piece of something. You know, a little piece of, salmon or something like that. Okay?
My question was about the juices, if you're buying juices, because I go to the store and I kind of look for, even at Whole Foods, I'm looking at all these juices, I'm like, what's
What
good?
do you mean by juices?
Like if you're buying, instead of juicing, if you want to buy a juice
Okay,
that's portable with kids and stuff,
yeah,
how do you know it's a good juice?
well, it's gonna be cold compressed. Okay, that means it's made and stored cold. Because a lot of things are made and then they're stored in the warehouse and then they're brought and put in the refrigerator, right? When you go in Whole Foods, you go in the produce area, there's that like refrigerator thingy on the
Next to
left.
bananas?
Go all the way down, yeah, next to the bananas, so bananas are here. You're on the second shelf down, and there's gonna be a bunch of bottles. All I can tell you is they're $3.99. There's ones next to it to the left that are $6.99. I buy the $3.99 one. I can't remember what kind it is, but that's what I buy. I've looked at it, and that's good stuff. So if you're not gonna make them, that's a good brand. I'll be honest with you, depending, like for me, I like to make them. Now, it might be easier with the kids and all, right? But it is gonna be more cost effective too to make your own. But sometimes you're not gonna have that ability, or if the kids are, going to camp or they're doing this and they want to, they'll drink it, then buy it.
Like on the way out the door, they'll drink that on the way to high school.
Yeah,
It's
well,
better for
you know
them.
what, I'm all for it then, do it.
Yeah.
If they're not, my kids like making smoothies, my daughter does. She's kind of like the person, she's the smoothie person, right? So she'll make them and the boys, they'll drink them. They don't want to be bothered with making, right? So she'll make it. So they just make it. Now, the green drinks, I haven't really sold all of them on that yet. They're not there, and that's okay. I know they're young, but that's, hey, if they'll drink it, it may cost a little bit more in the long run.
This is for filling in.
Yeah, but that's great. That's what I'm gonna be buying this weekend. I'm going there now.
Okay.
My brother wanted me to ask you about probiotics.
hmm
You hear all this talk about it.
Well, this is the thing. If
Whatever.
you have a healthy diet, your body should digest it, break it down naturally. So now if your body's not doing that effectively and you need to take the probiotics and all, then, okay, you take the probiotics. That we have a 100% organic one that we can get you. But my question is, why would you need that?
Okay, it's really just probiotics that are to aid in digestion. So if you don't have digestion.
Probiotics, like,
problems-
I recommend probiotics if somebody's been on antibiotics or something like that to clean their system out.
Okay.
You shouldn't really need that all the time, no. A lot of, our food, if you're eating whole food, that's great. Now, yes, our soil is different today and some things aren't gonna have the nutrients that it once was. That's when maybe you look at supplementation. If you have questions specifically about that, let me know. And we can, help you with that. We can get you these things. But I'm looking at it from, I'm not trying to sell you things. I'm looking at it for if you need that, or, if you find that your diet just isn't rich enough in these things, then you may need to supplement your diet with those things.
You were talking earlier about nuts, which I do that, but when you roast that nut, do you still maintain the nutritive value, or is it better to eat it raw, or does it make?
It's better to eat it raw, absolutely. That's why I only heat it for a very little bit. All I do is just soften it just a little bit. Same thing with the vegetables that I put in there.
Yeah.
Usually I put all that stuff in very last. Like when I eat my
So
eggs,
it's just barely.
the peppers are still crunchy. That's all. I just want to soften a little bit, because when you're all mix it together, you eat it easier. So meat's all brown, I'm ready to go. I'll put that stuff in for a minute, let it heat up.
But even for your snacking nuts, they should be raw, shouldn't they?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Now there is a little trick. I've tried it. It just hasn't worked for me. So it digests easier. You soak your nuts in water, okay, overnight, and then you let them dry out. My problem is I haven't figured out how to dry them out real well, so they get a little soggy. I just haven't figured, I have to dry them for like a day or two. So maybe I'm doing it wrong, but I've heard that. But I just said, I'm just going to eat them. So.
What about organ meats and
Yeah, very healthy.
cheeses?
Very healthy.
What about cheese?
Cheese, There are certain cheeses that are good or better for you, certain cheeses that are not. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna email you a list of the cheeses, so I don't get it wrong. I don't do a lot of cheese. I've researched it, and I have a list compiled, and I can get you that.
So
Okay.
organ meats are good.
Organ meats are good, yeah. Yeah, a lot of nutrients, livers and stuff like that, absolutely.
I have two questions. Yogurt and jerky.
Not
together. Two separate.
First of all, were you insulting me or asking me the question? Second of all, the yogurts, it's all dairy. Dairy is acidic, very congestive. If you're just sold on eating dairy, I would recommend buying organic because you're going to be inundated with antibiotics and all this bad stuff. Greek yogurt is probably going to be a better choice. Still a lot of sugar. And that's the one thing with the yogurt I have a hard time with. Now, I will say this. If I have a really hard workout where I'm like depleted, I mean, wiped out, and I just need calories, I will have some of, like almond milk, I'll put, not almond milk, almond butter, I'll put that in a little thing of Greek yogurt, I'll mix it up and eat it, just because I need the calories. So that's the only time I really have that. Greek yogurt's going to be a better choice, but because of the sugar, that's the one thing.
But go for the full fat.
Full fat yogurt, yes, because whenever it's low fat, they have to make it taste good. So they're going to be putting all the aspartames in there, high fructose corn syrups in there, and things like that. Now you can get some organic ones that are low fat and they don't have that in it. They won't taste as good. So you put fruit in it, and it tastes fine. I'll tell you what's good. Put your almond butter in the yogurt. Mix it up. Man, that's good. Put a banana in there and stuff like that, or all the fruit. But man, that is great. Oh.
When you're talking about the high sugar in Greek yogurt, are you talking about the ones with fruit or also the plain?
Well, the plain, it's just going to have a lot of sugar.
It does.
Yeah.
The plain,
The
okay.
plain has a lot of.
Well,
sugar.
the plain will have less. The plain will have less.
Okay, but it still has.
It's still going to have some sugar. Yeah, and you're going to store that as fat.
Okay.
It's not as much. Some of it depends on the brand.
And the jerky.
Like, the jerky.
Jerky.
Yeah, I mean, not bad. Again, where is it coming from? How is it raised? Yeah, so you're fine.
Is that high in nitrates, son? Jerky?
Again, it depends. It's like bacon. Nitrate free, nitrite free. You're making it your own, so you don't have to worry about that. You know where it's coming from.
Eggs, I just wanna know, where do you buy your eggs? I mean, what eggs do you buy?
I get them at
So-
Whole Foods
Which ones?
and Nature's something. It's a carton. It's got a green paper label around it, green and white, and it says on there, it'll say non-GMO, and it'll say organic, and I think it has in the right corner like omega-3 added or whatever. That's the ones I get.
But you said there's an Eggland's Best that's organic?
Yes. I haven't found it.
Oh.
Somebody told me it was at Costco. I think it was at Costco. I've never seen it. I just went on their website. That's how I know. The eggs I get are partially vegetarian fed, if not all vegetarian fed. But it's they give it omega-3. It's very hard to find eggs that are 100% grass fed. So I do my best. Any other questions?
Some question about like water, like if somebody lives in the city, like you say, to drink purified water, what do you recommend? Like a good, like Dasani bottled water, or
Well, if you're going to buy bottled water, you want a hard bottle, okay? But really, you're better off just filtering it. That's going to be your best choice. See, the thing with the bottled water is, even if it's a
BPA.
BPA, right, container, a lot of the water is sodas like this too. They put in the thing, in the bottle, and then they bring it to a warehouse and store it. The warehouse isn't typically, very rarely, going to be temperature controlled. So it's probably like 100 some degrees in there, right? And they put warning labels on the soda in like Arizona and stuff like that because it heats up. It's horrible, right? But the water is the same thing. You should not heat up a bottle of water. You know, it shouldn't sit in your car and stuff like this, right? It's just dangerous. So that's the thing. I don't know where they put it, where it's been stored. You know, it's sitting in it gets to a store by a truck. Well, it's sitting in the back of a truck. I'm sure it's not a refrigerated truck. I don't know how warm it is in there. It's got to be pretty hot, right? So that's why I do my bottle, you know, I do my water. Now, there's times when I drink bottled water. You know, maybe at the tournament this weekend, I can only take so much water. You know, I take one container, you know, so I'm drinking bottled water. All right, well, got to weigh it out. Half your body weight in ounces of water. Half your body weight in ounces of water, unless you're exercising, increase it. Half your body weight in ounces of water. And no white taters. Anybody else have a question?
So I know before you said grains were bad, but you're talking about amaranth and quinoa and teff and black rice, brown, all those things are bad.
Quinoa is going to be a better choice, okay?
And hemp, well, that's a seed.
Hemp is a seed, okay, better choice. Your brown rice are going to be better choices.
But still really better than
Yeah, I mean, you know, garnish it maybe. Don't put a pile on.
You were talking about the acidity in coffee. What about green tea?
Green tea is good. Yes. You're okay with that. You're allowed.
How long have you been eating like this?
Long time. How long have I been eating like this? You know, it's interesting. I mean, I grew up northern New Jersey Italian, half Italian. My mom might watch this, so she's not Italian. Half Italian, half Sicilian, my dad would say. But yeah, I grew up like everybody else. And I can remember my grandmother sent me care packages in college. Stick of pepperoni. And I used to just tear that back and just sit there and eat it. The spicier, the hotter, the better. Right? Loved it. Right? A hunk of mozzarella. Oh man, put that with some pepperoni. Oh,
You're in heaven.
yeah, yeah. My girlfriend could be waiting for me. I don't care. I'm in pepperonis. You know, so most of my life I grew up like that. What changed my life? You know, we talk about pinnacle moments. I don't know if it was a pinnacle moment, but during school we had dissection classes. And when we dissected cadavers, we did that for a year. That was just one class we had. We dissected the brain for 3 months, the brain and all the nerves for 3 months, the torso for 3 months, lower body for 3 months. You know, we trace out every artery, vein, every part of the body, dissect every part. And you would, some of the cadavers would have tags. And you read the tag. Heart attack, age 30. Cardiovascular disease, cancer. Some people didn't have tags. But you look at the arteries and they're black. You look at the lungs and they're black. You know, you look at the colon and stuff like that. That made a big impact on me because I remember looking at these cadavers and thinking, they could be alive. There's no reason I'm working on this cadaver, right? So I figured if the choices I made were better, and I didn't understand all this stuff, right? But I just knew that I could somehow control that for me. And that's what started me on this quest to learn. And so it's been a process. You know, I didn't know all this stuff 10 years ago. So those of you who have been coming in for 10 years, sorry. But, you know, I didn't know all this stuff then, but I started compiling information and knowledge. And so I've been eating like this maybe the last 5 years, truly like this, right? But I've been eating like this in parts for a long time, you know, probably the last 15, 17 years, something like that. So, yeah. And the good thing is, see, it doesn't matter when you start, your body's basically new every year. You're constantly accumulating damaged cells and tissues. And then you replace them with healthy ones. They come in maybe different colors, right? But you want to replace them with healthy ones, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The reason why people have chronic problems is because they're replacing damaged cells and tissues with ones that aren't fully healthy. So if you can replace the damaged cells and tissues with healthier ones, now all of a sudden, wow, my cholesterol dropped. My heart, I don't need that medication anymore. I have more energy. Honey, I'm feeling good, right? You know, you can start to reinvent your body. They say it takes about 2 years, but you can change wherever you are. That's the awesome thing about it, right? So the thing is, you're never going to be at health. Health is not somewhere where we arrive. It's a journey. You become healthier all the time because you're constantly replenishing cells and tissues, right? So you're always moving towards health, or you're moving away from it. It's the only way you move. You're never stagnant. If you're stagnant, you're done, right? So you move towards it. That's why it's a journey. You know, it's a continual process. You learn and you do things, and that's what health is. So we have a bad day, I had cake or this and that. Okay, no big deal. So you go tomorrow, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just doing better if that's important to you, right? So just remember that. It's not about being perfect, doing all the right things, right? You're never gonna do all the right things. Well, maybe, but you're never gonna do all the right things, right? That's why it's a journey, and it's just a process. Okay. Any other questions? I know I've kept you here a long time. Any other questions at all? If you have questions, feel free to email me. You know, a lot of times I don't have a lot of time in the rooms to answer a lot of these questions. So, you know, just send me an email, give me a call, and I'll get right back to you. If I have time in the rooms, I don't want you to feel, but a lot of times, you know, I kind of look at it like, okay, this is our chiropractic time. Okay, then outside of this, we'll schedule a time when I'm not as busy or something like that. So I don't want you to ever think that I'm not answering questions. So best thing to do is email me, maybe before you come in, to have this question. Can I ask you next time? And just send me an email. Then I'm prepared too if I need to kind of research things or whatever. Well, I appreciate your time, and I want to, you know, recognize you for being here and taking time out and, you know, wanting to know more and doing things differently. You know, that means a lot to me, and that's what fires me up. Next month, we're going to be doing a talk about thinking well, creating healthy thoughts, creating a stress-free environment. Okay, it's going to be very powerful. So, you know, be I think the last Thursday of the month, so you can look for that. We'll send out the emails, and we'll put signs up and all. So, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Yeah, have fun with the class.